All right, now let's join Mayowa for the latest in the interesting world of sports. He has his colleague, right, with him. All right, over to you now.
Me understand.
All right, thank you very much. Assistant Nigeria coach Ghana Roa says his team must improve despite a 4-0 victory over Libya in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifier on Saturday. Odion Ighalo hit his first hat-trick for the Super Eagles, and Samuel Kalu added another later on to help the team and move up to second in Group E, a point behind leader South Africa, who thrashed Seychelles 6-0. But Roa insists Nigeria, who failed to qualify for the last two Nations Cups in 2015 and 2017, must fix obvious problems in order to reach Cameroon 2019. And the Super Eagles will leave for Sfax, Tunisia this morning aboard a chartered flight for Tuesday's 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying match day 4 encounter against Libya. The game will take place at the home ground of Tunisia Premier League side ACS Sfaxien. The stadium was built in 1938 and was used for the 2004 Africa Cup of Nations. The Super Eagles are also expected to depart Sfax immediately after the match and arrive in Abuja in the early hours of Wednesday. The three-time African champions have won their last qualifying fixtures since suffering a 2-0 home loss to the Bafana of South Africa on match day 1 in Uyo. And of course, the Super Eagles have demonstrated that they are not only about winning football matches on the field after they donated about $17,000 to the Nigerian amputee football team ahead of this month's World Cup in Mexico. The Eagles had a meeting and contributed to the cause of the amputee team before their 4-0 win over Libya in Uyo at the weekend. The Special Eagles, Nigeria's amputee football team, had previously missed the World Football Tournament 3 times. The Amputee Football World Cup will hold from October 24th to November 11th in Mexico. 46 teams will participate in the tournament, with Nigeria drawn in Group D, along with Russia, El Salvador, and Brazil. And we understand 2 factions of the Nigerian Football Supporters Club are fighting at the Uyo airport over traveling arrangements to Tunisia for the Super Eagles' second leg match against Libya. TVC News gathered that the Rafiu Ladipo-led faction and that of Okumagba-led group got into a bitter argument and exchange of punches over the number of traveling tickets made available by the Nigerian Football Federation to Sfax, Tunisia for Tuesday's second leg match after the Super Eagles' 4-0 win at the weekend. Well, I've got my colleague, Mian Akiri, with me in the studio. Hello, Mian. How are you?
Good morning, Mayowa. It's good to be here, and good morning to your viewers this morning. All
right, we'll begin with obvious action on the field of play. Nigeria 4-0 over Libya. That makes it 7 goals in 2 matches, 3-0 over Seychelles, and now 4-0 over Libya. This team is gradually becoming a high-scoring side.
Well, the good thing is it gives these players some form of confidence, knowing fully well that some of the players, you know, have been criticized for not finding the back of the net, most especially Odion Ighalo. You recall that Ighalo has been on fire for his Chinese club, Changchun Tai. He has scored about 20 goals for his football club, but he has not been able to replicate that form in the Super Eagles. And before now, you know, at the press conference prior to the game against the Mediterranean Knights, one of the questions that Kenneth Rowe had to answer was why invite Odion Ighalo, who has not been able, you know, to give you the desired goals in the Super Eagles.
And then they got the answer.
He backed his player, and interestingly, once again, Nigerians can see a player who has scored a hat-trick, knowing fully well that the first time we saw the Nigerian national team score a hat-trick was in the year 1959, when Brimo scored for Nigeria. In 1963, late Paul Hamilton also scored Nigeria's second hat-trick in the Nkrumah Cup out there in Ghana. And Odion Ighalo has now joined, you know, the list of players who have been able to score a hat-trick for the Super Eagles, which speaks volume. The victory also ensures that the Super Eagles are now second in the group, know, behind the boys, the Bafana of South Africa in Group E. And we all know that 12 group winners will qualify automatically for the AFCON tournament in Cameroon in 2019. Yeah. Also the runners-up, except for the group that has the host country, Cameroon, where the hosts have already qualified automatically. Yeah. So that means the 3 other teams, the highest placed side, will qualify alongside the indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
All right, the coach talked about obvious problems going into the second leg against the Libyans. What do you think are the obvious problems the coach was referring to here?
Well, I think some of the things we've not been able to get in the national team is the issue of an individual style of football. We've not been able to see the Eagles play as a team, which is a big challenge. And also, I must give credit. This time, let me take a look at the positives more than the negatives, because it's always alarming when you don't see the likes of John Obi Mikel play in the central midfield role. And Alex Iwobi, to a large extent, you know, was exceptional in that role, getting that opportunity to play in that midfield role for the Super Eagles in the absence of John Obi Mikel, which means Gennett Raw must now devise a means where you can have maybe a Mikel and Iwobi play together in that same role. You know, how he gets to do that, it is his job, and that's the mathematics he must do. You could also see Iwobi laying off assists, you know, for the likes of Odion Judy Gallo in that encounter. He was one exceptional player. The left back has also been a worry, and then Pademon of Germany left back wasn't also a bad, you know, addition to the team, which means players like Elderson Echejile will get a run for their money. Sadly, for Elderson Echejile, as we speak, he does not have a club, and that's why he's not been invited to the national team, and that speaks volume about players who would have to vie for opportunity in the national team as far as the left-back position is concerned.
Let's take a look at how the second leg will pan out, which is tomorrow. Of course, it's 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Against Libya, the job is not yet done.
Yes.
We know Libya has it very much in this. Like you said earlier, 2 teams will qualify from each of the group, except for the one involving host country Cameroon, which means Nigeria have got a huge chance of making it out of this group. They are currently second. So, make a point, which the coach said earlier before going into the first game against Libya, that they will approach this game just as they did against Cameroon, win at home, and perhaps make a point. Do you think a point is enough in this game, where of course, you know, South Africa would beat Seychelles again?
Well, I think for Gennett Rao, what he was looking at was 4 points initially, but there are no easy games. The advantage for the Super Eagles going into the second leg, apart from the fact that the victory in New York has been able to boost their confidence, is that the Libyans are not playing in front of their own fans. No thanks to the fact that there were issues with the fans, and the Confederation of African Football had to ban them. So now they'll be playing in Tunisia. And you can also say Tunisia should be a favorable home ground for the Super Eagles because it's a neutral venue. The Libyans are not playing in front of their own fans. The Eagles also should take advantage of that. If you've beaten them in the first leg, the confidence is high. The players are looking forward to the 2019 AFCON tournament. You must take your chances. Sadly, also for the Libyans, things didn't go their way before the game, with Adel Amrouche, the head coach of the side, throwing in the towel, blaming the fact that there were interference in this job, and also he's not been paid for 6 months. You know, so things are not going on well. After the game over the weekend, it was also criticisms from ex-internationals out there in Libya as far as the national team is concerned. So there are crises in the Libyan team as we speak, and I hope that the Super Eagles will be able to take advantage of this situation. The Melvin Amajupinik-led board will have no excuse. Nigeria failed to qualify for the last 2 AFCON tournaments. Cameroon 2019, our next door neighbors, is non-negotiable as far as this ticket is concerned.
And quickly, what do you make of the shambles involving the Nigerian Supporters Club right there? You know, your 2 factions vying for tickets to go to Tunisia.
It's a shame. It's an embarrassment. It is sad that the crisis in the Supporters Club is still on. Before the World Cup in Russia, issues were swept under the carpet. And then those who said, oh, we will come here and sort out these issues, this crisis, never told the world and Nigerians the truth. It was just issues swept under the carpet, and then they formed a team, went to Russia. And those who matter most, the fans. Nigeria is about 180 million population. I've been to the Super Eagles games. Okay. You see one faction of the Supporters Club singing a version of song, another faction of Supporters Club singing another. It is different. A shame, and it is really, really embarrassing. And this is what the most populous black nation is facing as far as football is concerned.
All right, that's how. Thank you very much, Miye Nakere. On that note, we've come to the end of Sports segment on the Breakfast show this morning. We hand you over now to Azizat for the rest of the show. I'm Mayowa Ajayi.
All right, it's time to take a look at the front pages of the national dailies again for the major stories. On The Nation, major story here is Buhari defends travel ban on 50 VIPs as row grows. Atiku, Falana, Sarah Kik, there have been so many reactions to the executive order by the president. Atop here from the left, presidency to decide Shitu's fate over NYSC Minister Sue. So the drama continues. Atiku's choice of Obi split Southeast row breaks out. They're saying that they should choose another Southeastern candidate to run as his vice president. Okay, Fayose in tears as he leaves Ekiti for Abuja. He has finished his term in office.
The end of an era.
Indeed.
All right, on the front page of the Daily Trust, in case you missed it, while we can't achieve January-December budget cycle next year, that's the federal government giving reasons, shifts 2019 budget submission to November. President said his own names of 50 persons on travel ban. That's on page 3 of the Daily Trust. Gunmen attack former Akwa Ibom governor's aide, and Nigeria rejects IMF's recommendation on taxes.
Okay, so we go to the Punch newspaper. Major story here. Travel ban will hurt economy. Atiku talking there, the presidential candidate of the PDP with 2 riders. Reverse your action. Falana Serap tell Buhari critics should go to court. Presidency there firing back at its many critics. We go to the top left. Fayose leaves Ekiti for Abuja, says he won't flee. Where my finger is, down here, family fixes Baba Salah's burial for December the 7th. Debts, Nigeria has room to borrow more, so says the Minister for Budget, Udo Udoma.
Room to borrow more.
More.
All right, the New Telegraph is next. McGraws with Buhari's government. That coming from Bishop Oyedepo explains why he was at OBJ Atiku's reconciliation meeting. Says he has not received money from any politician. Interesting story there. And on the top corner, federal government no plan to raise taxes in Nigeria. CBN, stable exchange rate better than building reserves. Peter Obi, Southeast governors must respect Atiku's choice. That coming from former President Goodluck Jonathan. Kano denies $5 million bribery allegation against governor. And NGE tasked federal government, INEC, on security vote by incredible polls. Red Cross raises alarm over fate of abducted health workers. That's on page 4 of the New Telegraph.
The last but not the least, the point, of course, not so many stories on the front page, but the major story here that is so visible. The Arewa nation is getting torn apart over who to support. Arewa youths rally over 60 zonal groups against Buhari, queue behind Atiku. They are on their own. The Arewa Consultative Forum talking there after initially saying that it will not support either Buhari or Atiku going into the 2019 general election. Immediately under it, Fayose again makes the story, makes the front page, of course. Fayose reaches out to Labour Party for presidential ticket, leaves Ekiti ahead of Fayemi's inauguration. All right, that's it on the show today. But just before we go, we'd like to tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons on the topics discussed on the program today are their views and have no connection whatsoever with TVC News.
Apparently.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. I am Azizat Olaoluwa.
And I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. Thank you for being back.
Yeah, join us again for another interesting edition tomorrow. Bye for now.